Hi, welcome to another 2D game art for developers video. Last time we created a game scene which basically contains a grassy field, the sun and the sky. Let's try to improve upon this by adding a few more objects to the scene. Let's say that we want to add a bush on the ground. I am going to simply draw a circle, and since we have the gradient on, we see a gradient color here, but we don't want that. We actually want to get a plain color. Let's say we make it green. Now, to be a simple bushy kind of shape, this should be half a circle. How do we draw half a circle? There doesn't seem to be such a tool there. As far as, well, there is the segment tool here, or the crescent tool, but you could also do it by using a combination of existing shapes. For instance, let's say I'm going to draw a rectangle on top of the circle. Then I'm going to select both by using shift key and clicking on the circle. Now you'll notice the toolbar buttons up here called add, subtract, intersect, divide and combine. Now we are going to use subtract here, just so I will explain what it does after it's done. As you notice, the topmost shape, which was the rectangle, was subtracted from the lower shape, which was the circle, and we are left with half a circle. Now this still doesn't look very much like a bush, and the green is wrong, so let's make it a slightly darker green. Okay, that looks closer, but now the bush kind of blends into the background. Let's not worry about that too much for the time being. Let's say we draw something like this, and let me just take a side step here and make this scene. Call this scene, and I'm going to move this curve down, wrong place, down here. Okay, so we have this ellipse, which is the circle, and the curve, which is the bushy shape. So now if you have it like this, that looks like a turtle poking its head out more than anything else. But let's take the circle and duplicate it, resize it a little bit, and take the circle again, duplicate it over here, make it bigger. Now it kind of looks like a bush, but it also kind of blends into the background. How if we could make this stand out a little by drawing an outline around the shape? This is what you need the stroke for. Now let's say we combine all this and we use the stroke element here, which lets you set up a a stroke color. Like the stroke color is set to black, but we do not get a stroke on the shape. Okay, plus what I was trying to show was, oh, the stroke is set to none here. So let's change the stroke to like 4 points. Now you notice that one element got a stroke. Let's select all of it. Then we don't get a stroke because these are disparate elements. Can we set a stroke on just the curve? Okay, we can. But when you do that, you notice that each shape gets its individual strokes, but it's not a combined stroke for the whole shape, which was what I was trying to uh, you know illustrate here. So let's say we select all the curves together and we use the add tool, and then we get a single shape with a stroke around it, and it looks a little bit like a bush. And if we can reduce the outline by or increase it so that you get a thicker stroke around the shape, and you can experiment with this to get the kind of look that you're looking for. Okay, let's say that looks kind of okay. You can obviously work with it and improve upon it. Let's say we want to add some berries onto the bush. Let's take the circle. Okay, let's first zoom in on the bush shape, and let's say we draw a circle here, and we'll remove the stroke. You can remove the stroke when the stroke color is highlighted. You can click on this to remove the stroke, and then we switch to the fill color, and let's set it to a red, something like this. And let's duplicate it, duplicate it again, duplicate it again, rotate it a little bit, and you get something resembling a berry shape. Now if you wanted this to be a cluster of berries and you wanted to outline them, you'd obviously want the stroke to be set individually so that it looks like a cluster of items. But let's say you wanted this to be a single fruit with which with a with the strokes around the whole object, then you can't do it like this. You'd have to add all of it together, and then you'd get an object like this. And let's reduce the stroke on this a little bit. Okay, and zoom out a little bit, and you'll notice that maybe it looks a little too small. So let's make it bigger, and maybe add a few more. And of course, like if you have all of them the same, it looks kind of odd. So you can rotate it to give a play, give the illusion of it being randomly placed. And okay, so something like this. Now let's try to draw a bird. Let's say I want to draw the bird's body. We have the red, and obviously we can use the previous trick of cutting out part of the shape by using the subtract tool. Okay, now let's say we draw a head. Yeah, make this a little bigger and fatter, and let's duplicate the shape and flip it vertically and rotate it and thin it out a bit and make it a little smaller, and we have our wing. And of course, again, if you want this whole shape to not have a stroke, you can simply turn off the stroke color And now let's give this an eye, give the bird an eye. Let's zoom in on the head, draw a circle, color it white. That's the stroke. Fill color, color it white, duplicate it, fill it with black, make it smaller, and hold shift so that the circle remains a circle and does not get skewed, and position it, and you have the bird's eye. Now all we need is a beak for the bird. You could do it two ways. Let's say we draw a triangle, color it yellow. Okay, let's select a uniform yellow and rotate it and drag it here. That's one way to go. Notice that some of these elements have been placed at the top of the layer, and some of the body elements are at the bottom, so it's probably easier to put it all together in one place. So I'm going to drag it all down. And one other thing to note is, like, some of these elements, how they are placed makes like the placement of each element on the layer panel matters. If I drag the bird's beak up here, the beak looks a little weird because it's in front of the head. You can simply move it back by using the arrange menu command and saying, like, okay, because I have the wrong element. Let's select the triangle and go to right click, arrange, move back one. It moves behind the head and it looks much better. Okay, so that's one way to do a beak. Another way would be, we take a square, okay, I lost my cursor so I can't see where things are. Okay, let's say we draw a square here, something like this, and this, you'll notice, again has a gradient. So you can simply go to the gradient tool, select solid, and it'll turn out the gradient. And then we go back to the move tool, drag it here, and then we draw a triangle. Rotate it, and move that on top of the square, make it a little shorter, resize it, and now you select both the triangle and the square and you do the subtraction, and you get a birdie with a beak. I think I might have done that slightly off because it looks as if there's a thin line there which is left over from the square. So let me undo that and I'm going to redo this. Okay, that still has a little bit of residue. Redo that again. We seem to still have some residue. Oh, I know why. Because I'm moving both elements, whereas I need to move just the triangle out. Okay. Now select both, do the subtraction, and no residue. And And there you have it, a somewhat okay looking bird. Like, you could again combine some of these and work with the shapes using the node tool to smooth out some of it, but you got a bird with simple shapes. And similarly, you can combine the simple shapes and remove bits or add bits to create a lot more elements and shapes, or even objects. So try doing all of this and see what you can create, and have fun. See you in the next video. Bye bye.